Ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats. The show is about to begin.
Simple. There's no way on earth we're going to get out of here tonight. We'd have more luck playing pickup sticks with our butt cheeks than we will getting a flight out of here before daybreak. Good evening and welcome to another episode of Three Guys in a Flick. This is where we review the good, the bad, and the absurd. Tonight's episode, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. Beware spoilers. Coming to you from my basement, I am Don, and to my right we have our comic book guy, John.
$6 and my right nut says we're not landing in Chicago.
And to my left, we have the professor, Ken.
I'm on. You the shower curtain fella? I'm on.
Owen, that's right. Owen. How are you guys doing tonight?
Doing great.
Yeah, I'm doing well.
Yeah, sounds like it. Sounds like it. We've been away for a little bit, but now we are back, and we are talking about planes, trains, and automobiles. This pick comes from our director series, where we take a helmet full of directors, pick one out, and we each put a movie back into a separate hat so we can draw out of, not to make things too complicated. And this was our first go-around, and we drew John Hughes. Jill drew it for us on Galaxy Quest.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's a great first director to start with.
Yeah, yeah. So we each put a film by John Hughes into a separate hat, and we pulled out Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. Now, there are two more John Hughes in that hat, but we're going to take those films, and we're going to throw those into the Bronco helmet. And we're just going to let them float around in there until, we pick them.
Marinate a little.
Yeah, yeah. And so at the end of the episode tonight, what we will do is we will pick another director. And we'll each put in one film, pick that film, and then the other two will go on the Bronco helmet. And we'll just kind of play it by ear. What do you guys think?
I like it.
As long as it's Sam Raimi, I think we're okay.
Yeah, well, I can't control the pick, bud. And knowing us, it's probably going to be fucking something you hate.
James Cameron.
Oh, did you put him in there? Nice. You son of a bitch! All right, so talking about Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. It was released on November 25th of 1987. It was directed by, written by, and produced by John Hughes, and it stars Steve Martin and John Candy. A Chicago advertising man struggles to travel home from New York for Thanksgiving with a lovable oaf of a shower curtain ring salesman as his only companion.
How'd this movie do, Don?
This movie was made for $15 million, and it brought in $50 million.
Why do you think it didn't do better than $50 million?
Why do I think it didn't do better? I don't, because it was 1987? I don't know.
From what I have read, because of that one scene with the numerous F-bombs, it got a rated R. If it hadn't gotten the rated R rating, I'll bet you it would have done a lot better.
Yeah, and I bet you had the captain of the Titanic took a right, he probably wouldn't have hit the iceberg. So
I'll bet you he said the F-bomb when he hit the iceberg.
I know, but that F-bomb sequence is so good.
Yeah.
It's so good. I can't imagine this movie without it.
I think it's one of the things that sold Steve Martin on this movie.
Oh, I'm sure. It was good. That was good. When was the last time you guys saw this movie?
For me, it's probably been 1 or 2 years.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
What about you?
It'd been a few years in my family, but we quote this movie all the time.
Oh, do you?
Mm-hmm.
What's one of your quotes?
How do they know which way we're going?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And the, you think?
Yeah, I don't think he says you think. He says, do you think?
Oh, do you think?
Yeah. Because that's when John Candy delivers the line and Steve Martin's response is that, I was immediately thinking, you think? But Steve Martin does his.
What scene is that?
We've been robbed.
Yep,
Yeah,
that's what it is.
Yeah.
What about you? When did you see this last?
Oh my gosh. 1987 maybe. And I remember not really liking it. I didn't really, maybe I was too young for it, you know. I couldn't appreciate the story that John Hughes was trying to tell. And so watching it again a week ago, fuckers, I got to watch it in a new light, and it was almost like I had seen it for the first time. And I enjoyed it. I legitimately really enjoyed that film. So
even if you hadn't known who the director of this was, I think you could have figured it out pretty quickly by the style of the movie. That every time there was a big, passionate speech, you had that John Hughes music selection behind the speech. Did you notice that?
oh yeah, oh,
It had that John Hughes feeling.
oh, it screams John Hughes. It screams it. That opening catchy tune, very reminiscent to something maybe you would have seen in Vacation or any of the other films that he did. But you know, he has a style, and he was pretty big for the 80s. Right? I mean, if we all think back to John Hughes, 16 Candles, The Breakfast Club, Weird Science, Ferris Bueller's Day Off, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, She's Having a Baby, Uncle Buck, and Curly Sue. And those were just the films that he directed. I mean, think about all the films that he's written.
Written or produced. Home Alone's on that list.
Well, Chris Columbus directed.
Yeah,
but he wrote it.
He wrote it.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about that when we get to the end. It's the Home Alone house.
Well, it's actually, the truth is it's a mile and a half away from the original Home Alone house, but it's the same style.
Yeah. So, I mean, pool or pond, dude.
So this movie does sort of round a corner for John Hughes, because previously he has been about teenaged angst. And with the falling out that he had with Anthony Michael Hall and Claire, Molly Ringwald, they wanted to go in different directions. Hughes felt a little jaded and hurt about this, and he did not go back to a teenage storyline after that. And so Planes, Trains, and Automobiles is his first foray into an adult story.
Wow.
One of the interesting things I read was this is another movie that he wrote in like 3 days.
Yeah. Well, I guess he was notorious for writing scripts on napkins. You know, and
he's just stupid crazy like that.
And
he just wrote a lot of stuff.
And the original script would have had the movie going about 3 to 4 hours long. Steve Martin said in an interview, the original cut of the movie was 3 hours.
I am so glad it's at $1.30.
Yeah.
So
rumors are, and there's a just like Breakfast Club, there is an uncut version of it that's 3 hours long somewhere in his vault.
I will say this. If there is a 3-hour version of this film, I appreciate all the hijinks and the comedy and the story and the way, you know, it was presented. But for me, an hour and a half was enough. It gave me what I wanted. I smiled, you know. So I think to drag that out in my head, I can't imagine what other scenarios that he could have put those two in that, you know, is either more outrageous or, you know, how it's any different than the situations they are in together as it is.
There's actually a couple spots in the movie, and one that I can think off the top of my head that the deleted scene would have made the scene make more sense. And we'll bring that up when we get to it. But there's things that you'll see in the scene that you're like, why is that there? Well, that was because it was a cut. They cut out the actual extra stuff.
Oh, really?
Now, one question I want to ask both of you before we get started. I want to know which team you're on. Are you on the team of, oh my God, I would kill that guy? Or are you on the team of, that douchebag deserves everything he's getting?
So are you asking us, are we Team Neal or Team Dale?
Dell, yeah.
Team Dell?
Yeah, so basically, you'd kill that guy, which is
Team Neal. I heard you the first time. I'm just clarifying. Team Dale, fucker. Team Dale or Team
Dell.
DEL.
Team Dell or Team Neal.
Yes.
Okay.
I don't look at them as teams, but I will say that I am relating a lot more to Steve Martin's Neil Page character than I am to Dell's character.
I can
so
see that.
I wouldn't say that I'm on that team, but I relate a lot more. The moment in the parking lot when he breaks down as the bus drives away and his car is not there. I've had moments like that. I've had a lot of moments like that where you just let it out.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. Absolutely. So you lean more toward Neal, right? You appreciate that more.
Yeah.
Yeah. What about you?
I would like to say that I'm more Dell, but I think I would just explode several times like Neal did, so I have to go Team Neal.
Oh, dude.
I lose my shit.
Absolutely, you're Team Neal. You are Neal, right?
Yeah.
I couldn't imagine traveling with you. I couldn't imagine doing anything of high stress, like getting fucking stuck at an airport with you, dude. I would fucking murder you.
The amount that I annoy you,
I know.
At times I thought maybe I would fall in the Dell category, but no, I think my breaking point is sometimes pretty low. So
yeah, no, I can see that too. I'm with you guys. I would love to say that I'm a little bit of Dell, who actually is almost kind of a dick too, but I think I would relate more with Neal as well, because I've been that traveler. I've been that guy at the airport.
Which leads me to my next question. Have you had an experience of a Neal or a Dell while you've been traveling?
Oh, easily, yeah. Yeah, I have lots of situations I can think of.
That you roomed with a strange man?
No, but that I've lost my cool in an airport.
Why, they didn't have your first class seat ready for you?
No, there was one time where
I don't care. Neal, I think that I'm just fucking with you. Go ahead.
Do you want to hear the story?
Go ahead.
Okay, so one time I was at the airport with my parents, and we were getting ready to board a flight, and my parents decided that they wanted to be moved up in seats, and we actually had pretty nice seats. It was, I can't remember what section, but it was just such a crowded plane, big issue. I was frustrated with the whole thing. I don't like going to the airport. I hate going through security. I was already in a mood.
Shocker.
And my parents were going up and they were trying to move seats. And if they moved seats, I was going to be left in a middle seat in the back of the plane by myself for them to move up. So I kind of got up, when they were up there, and I said, let's just stay in our seats. Let's just stay in our seats. And the lady at the counter, for some reason, got really annoyed with me. And she ended up giving them 2 first-class seats and me still in the back of the plane in the middle seat. And when it came time for boarding, she started letting everybody on. She let my parents on. She started boarding from the back. So I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to get on the plane. I have anxiety about getting my stuff up in that little storage container. So I was excited to get on the plane. So she starts boarding the back of the plane. And then she looks at me and she goes, not you, sir. You go sit down. She made me board the very last person on the plane because I was apparently rude to my parents.
Serves you right.
So yeah, I lost my shit during that.
Yeah. No, I've never had, I've traveled a lot and I've been delayed and things like that, but never to the degree that Steve Martin's character gets put through.
He goes through the rigor. He has the worst luck in this movie.
Well, let me ask you this question. A lot of the stuff that happens to Neal, does he bring it on himself?
Well,
no.
With his impatience and his frustration, and it's easy to crack, and he just
he's just anal retentive.
That hotel room situation where he explodes, that came pretty early on. He hadn't been pushed that far, and he loses it.
Well, how far is too far? How do you know he wasn't pushed too far?
I'm just saying that it seems like his explosion level is pretty low. His bar is pretty low.
Well, I think that's unfair to say because Steve Martin's character gets tested really early. Now, did he bring it upon himself to make the decision to get home by a certain time? Sure, whatever. But shit happens, right? Life fucking happens. I wouldn't say that he brought it on himself. I think that his choices had consequences, and how you react in the moment is how you're going to react.
Yes, were you paying attention, Don?
No, I'm not fucking paying attention.
All right, so let's move on a little bit more. John Candy, Steve Martin, is this an iconic role for either of these actors?
Oh, wow, that's a really good question. Do you have any thoughts?
I just think the pairing was perfect.
Right.
Originally, they wanted, was it John Travolta and Tom Hanks in the 2 roles, and I think you couldn't have done better than Steve Martin and John Candy.
Agreed. Do you say iconic, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I wouldn't say their characters in this film.
No, but are these actors iconic in this movie for you? When you think of a Steve Martin or a John Candy movie, is this in one of your top 3?
No.
Okay.
No.
You?
My number one Steve Martin movie, I was thinking about this earlier, is The Jerk. That is my iconic Steve Martin movie.
You know, I was trying to think of my favorite Steve Martin movie, and I'm not really sure. I feel like The Jerk is the go-to answer, right? And I'm not saying it's a bad film. It's fucking hilarious, right? It's The Jerk. But he's so good in so many other films that it's kind of hard to pin down. But this isn't one of them. I know he's in it, and if this was a trivia question, I'd get it. But as far as the in the library of Steve Martin and even John Candy films, this one's probably mid-level.
Really?
Yeah.
What would you say, Professor, for your Steve Martin movie?
So,
or do you think this is the iconic
for
one?
my Steve Martin movies, it's definitely one of the most iconic Steve Martin movies. The other one that falls right off is Dirty Rotten Scoundrels. Love that to death. Steve Martin is a delight in that. He's also really, really good in Three Amigos. And I also dug him in Roxanne.
Yeah. See? I mean, Steve Martin.
What about John Candy? What do you think of when you think John Candy?
When I think of John Candy, I think of Uncle Buck.
Yep.
I think of, oddly enough, Vacation. I think
That's not odd.
Huh?
That's not odd at all.
But it's so small, right? It's such a bit part.
But, boy, he's a cornerstone in that.
Oh, I know. Splash. I think of Splash.
He's the brother.
He's the brother, right?
They posted my letter.
Yeah. So
I'm waiting for you guys to name mine. Which one do you think of, Professor?
One of my first for John Candy is Stripes.
That makes sense. That mud wrestling scene.
Oh, absolutely. 100%. How does that get by me?
The one that I think of?
Yeah.
Tom Tuttle from Tacoma.
Who the fuck is Tom Tuttle from Tacoma?
No,
Tom Tuttle.
Tom Tuttle from Tacoma, Washington.
Oh, sorry. Who the fuck is Tom Tuttle from Tacoma, Washington?
Volunteers. With Tom Hanks.
That's kind of like this Planes, Trains, and Automobiles situation. I haven't seen Volunteers probably since it came out.
I am surprised that neither one of you have said another John Candy movie. What the fuck is wrong with you guys not talking about Spaceballs?
I thought about that.
You know what? I'm not going to try to explain it out like this one's about to. It got right by me. That's two that got by me. Well done, Professor. Spaceballs, classic.
But did you notice the initials on Dell's trunk?
No, but I read about it.
His initials were DOG, which some people think is a call out to Spaceballs.
And speaking of call outs, he wants, when they're getting drunk, he wants to go to Jamaica.
Mm-hmm.
That's another great role for him.
Yeah, and it just came to me.
It's for me, it's the last big one.
He actually uses a line from Cool Runnings in this movie where it's not much to look at, but it'll get you there.
Oh, does he?
Yep.
Yeah. All right, so I feel like we can go on and on and on, but we should probably get into the summary and then we can go on and on and on. Neal Page is an advertising executive on a business trip in New York City, eager to return to his family in Chicago before Thanksgiving, which is in 2 days' time. After a late-running business meeting with an indecisive client, Neal has horrible luck trying to get a cab during rush hour. As he bribes a man to let him have a cab he's hailed, it is unwittingly taken by a third man. Neal gets to LaGuardia Airport just as his flight is delayed. While waiting, he meets Del Griffith, a talkative man who sells shower curtain rings, whom he recognizes as the man who stole that cab. To his chagrin and Del's delight, Neal is then assigned a seat next to Del on the crowded plane to O'Hara. All right, so we start off immediately with this film. We're introduced to Steve Martin's character, Neal, and he's trying to get home. Have you guys ever been in that type of a meeting where you're meeting with a client or a boss or whatever it may be, and they have to make a decision, and you have somewhere to be, and that impatience and that anxiety you get? You guys have ever been that?
Well, I've already said I'm not a big fan of travel, and part of my jobs that I've had, I used to always have to travel a lot, and my travel arrangements were always made by work. They were out of my control, and the day that you're supposed to leave, the people want to drag it on and on, and all you're thinking is, I need to get to the airport. I need to call an Uber. I need to get there, and I need to go through security and all that, and you're stressing out. And the more time they're taking, the more stress it's creating. So I can understand that in this movie, Neal is already getting stressed out just from the idea that he's got to get to the airport. And that I think they say hailing a cab in New York, at that time on that day is near impossible.
Oh, yeah. No, and it is. So, yeah. What about you?
Never.
Oh, you're so lucky, dude. So lucky.
I know.
What about you, Don?
That's happened to me a number of times. We for what I used to do many moons ago, I'd travel for work, and so we would have to go
Male gigolo?
Well, I didn't want to put it like that. But
High-priced male gigolo.
Thank you, John. Thank you.
Go on.
So during my high-priced gigolo days, I'd have to travel a lot, and we would have to go and do site visits, and those would be like day trips. So I'd fly to like San Francisco for a day or somewhere, not too far. So we could make it a day. And there were times where, our site visits would run up until the time that we had to go get on the plane. Right. But if I was on one of those trips, I just have a backpack. So I just have to go to security. So I don't have to stop and check my bag. So I'm typically not one of those guys who likes to go 2 hours early. It kind of annoys me.
What? You like to show up late to things?
Why are you late? The plane is, it will take off without you if you're late, but the plane's not going anywhere. Your seat's not going anywhere.
This is the same guy who anytime we go and watch movies, he will be just in time 2 seconds before the actual movie starts. So you miss typically all the previews and you show up right at perfectly when the movie starts.
You know what I'm going to say? I'm going to say, what are you going to show me that I haven't already seen on YouTube? So anyways, yes, I've had those situations, and yeah, those suck. So
what I like about the first 5 minutes of this movie is with Steve Martin saying hardly anything, we get to know what type of a person he is. You look at that fancy watch, his dress attire is completely pampered, crisp, put together. He has a hat. Nobody wears a hat anymore. And, I forgot my gloves. Can you grab my gloves? And so, right off the bat, he comes across as kind of a prissy, uptight guy.
Oh, yeah, 100%. And you feel it because he's doing such a great job expressing this is how he's feeling. So he's running out and he's trying to get the cab. And did you guys notice a young Kevin Bacon racing him for the other cab?
Duh.
Which is funny because...
You think?
They put in Kevin Bacon in a situation where he has no lines, and it just so happens that they were finishing up making the movie She's Having My Baby, so they kind of, I think, threw him in this movie ahead of time.
That's awesome. He's trying to get this cab, and he's paying this dude $75 for it, but in the meantime, the cab gets taken right out from under his nose by John Candy.
Who we never see.
No, just the trunk.
Just the trunk. And as soon as you see the trunk, because Martin stops and looks at the trunk, right?
Did you catch what was in the puddle?
Shower ring.
Yeah.
And
he dropped the shower
I
ring.
didn't get that until he introduces himself as but I noticed, I thought, is that a hair tie? But come to find out later, I go, I put two and two together.
Well, apparently it's also an earring.
So Steve Martin gets to the airport where it's delayed and he sits down, and this is where Del and Neal actually start to talk to each other.
The Canadian Mounted.
That book he's reading? Yeah.
And you know what I really liked about that so brief moment? When Neal finally clicks in on Del, where do I know you from? That shot is the taxi cab door and Del, and the backdrop is the airport.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And the backdrop is not the cab. So you have the taxi cab door, you have Del, and then you have the airport as the backdrop of it. You see people in the background, and you see airport or something like that on the wall, like an airport sign.
Oh.
What they did was they brought in the door and they just held it in front of him. They had him change his clothes again, but he was still sitting in the same seat.
So the flights are delayed, and now they have to...
Is this where we get our first person from Ferris Bueller, the teacher?
No.
Or is that later on?
No,
it's his dad.
It's his dad.
Oh, that's
opening.
right, his dad.
Yeah, it's his dad in the opening, yeah.
And then later on we get Ben Stein.
Yeah, he's at the airport, right? He's the one that says all the flights are canceled.
With
or the flight to Chicago is canceled.
And did you catch what it said behind him on the reader board?
Hilarious.
Destination, nowhere.
It says nowhere on the board.
Yeah.
That's just rubbing salt in the wounds.
Yeah. Due to the blizzard in Chicago, their plane is diverted to Wichita, where they must spend the night. Neal is unable to get a room, but Del, a traveling salesman, has successfully secured one, and Neal reluctantly accepts his invitation to share it. During check-in, Del mistakenly takes Neal's credit card. In the small room, Neal loses his temper over Del's irritating behavior, and Del criticizes Neal's lack of gratitude for his hospitality. But they make peace and awkwardly share the only bed. While they sleep, their cash is stolen by a burglar. The following day, with air travel still delayed, Neal buys them both train tickets to Chicago, but with seats in separate cars, stranding its passengers in a field. Neal takes pity on Del struggling with his trunk, and they are reunited. They travel on a crowded bus to St. Louis by selling curtain ring samples to passerbys as earrings. Neal offends Del over lunch, and the two angrily part ways again.
Now, did you catch in the beginning of this the first hint that something's going on with Del and his home life?
No. Wait, what does he say?
There's a comment basically early on that Del says to Neal that you like what you do, work. You like work, you love your wife.
Right.
But then when they get off the plane, Neal immediately goes to call home and talk to his wife, whereas Del comes up and says, you made the mistake of calling home. I called a hotel first.
Yeah. No, I didn't put it together until a little bit further down the road.
So I didn't put it together until we have the epiphany flashback that Neal goes through.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, on the train?
Yeah. Because you never see Del ever call home.
No.
And then I think later on he says,
no,
he hasn't been home in years.
Well, yeah. That's where it clicked for me. Mm-hmm. So yeah, they get a room together, and Del has his annoying habits, and
to say the least.
He smokes in the room, which I thought was hilarious, and he's drinking beer, and he puts it on the vibrating bed.
But that is a deleted scene. And that is one of the moments that I think works better. It is a stronger story having them talk about what had happened with the beer rather than actually having us show the accident of the beer.
I was wondering because it felt kind of jumpy when I was watching it the other night. He's laying in beer. Why is he laying in beer? And they explain it, and I went, oh. But interesting.
This was another big scene that was cut out that I think would have made a little bit more sense. The burglar who steals their money, do you know where he is from?
The check-in?
No. You see that they're eating pizza. There was a pizza delivery guy who delivers the pizza, and he gets tipped $1.
Oh, so he's the burglar?
He's the burglar that comes in later on to steal his tip. That's why he only takes the cash, because he's just stealing his tip money. But he takes all of their cash.
He gets $900.
Yeah, so that is actually a scene that's available, I think, in the extended version.
Interesting, because I remember thinking when I watched it, what the fuck is going on? Mm-hmm. Right? They finally go to sleep, and this robber comes in and robs them. I just thought that was really convenient and really out of the blue. So thank you for clearing that up for me there, Guy.
It's one time, you bring up all the time that we don't need all these extra things. We don't need all this extra expose. But I feel like if they kind of had left, that's one of two scenes I think that if they had left in this movie, it would have made a little more sense.
Yeah.
I think it works better not having it.
It doesn't change the way I feel about it. I just think that, it's fine. I'm glad they didn't put it in because, again, $1.30. It's very well paced. I will give that to this film for a movie that's a road movie. It's very well paced. I think it flows pretty good, and there's not too many lulls in it to put you to sleep. I stayed awake.
One thing I forgot to mention in our previous scene was the gentleman that was sitting next to them on the plane. There was Neal in the middle, John Candy, Del's on one side, and there was an older gentleman on the other side. Did you catch where we knew the older gentleman from?
Nope.
Did you catch him?
I know the actor. I've seen his face before, and I know that he's been in other stuff that I've seen.
He was in another John Hughes movie. He was in a John Hughes written movie, which was Home Alone. He is the old guy that Kevin's mother barters with to get his plane ticket, and then he goes on standby. Do you remember that scene in Home Alone?
Yeah.
Okay, so there's a rumor on the internet that his standby flight is the flight they're on, and that's why he's on that plane.
But Home Alone came out in the 90s.
Yeah. But you never know with movie magic and timelines. And
Home Alone
Timelines?
was 90.
You're 3 years in the future, so he went back 3 years to get on that flight? Well done, Internet. Well done.
When did this movie come out?
87.
87? Yeah, you're true. That's true. So
Yeah, okay. Let's do our research and do math before we... No, I'm just kidding.
well, it's like basically it's telling the, Home Alone could be kind of the prequel of how he got on that
Okay,
plane.
now you're reaching.
I'm just saying what the internet's saying.
I know, but don't say it because...
You hate the internet.
Well, that one is dumb. How can that happen? There's no way it can happen. Home Alone came out later.
1990.
Yeah, we've already established that. Okay.
So what did you think about Neal unloading on Del when he has that temper tantrum and he just lets go with both barrels?
I was thinking, wow, he is a dick. Right?
I can kind of understand, getting pushed to your breaking point. I would still have kind of kept it quiet for at least a little bit longer.
Yeah. It was harsh and, but he had to do it. I mean, he got pushed to his limit at that point and he was having a bad day. He doesn't get to go home and see his wife. He was on his business trip. He was really looking forward to getting home. And now he's stuck in a hotel room with Del, who, for all he knows is just a fucking whack job.
Did you catch the tune that set Neal off?
No.
The bodily noises that Del is making in bed is shave and a haircut. And so it's shave and he makes and a haircut. And then I think he coughs twice, which is 2 bits. And that's when Neal loses it.
Fuck off, really?
Yeah. If
That's
you
funny.
Go back and watch it, Jay. It's
Do you know
to
that?
The tune.
No.
No, that's funny. So one more thing before we move on. This also gives us our classic scene.
It's one of the first things that everybody thinks of.
It's the first thing I thought of when Jill pulled it out of the hat, and I hadn't seen it since 1987. Oh, why'd you kiss my neck?
Why are you holding my hand?
Where's your other hand?
Between 2 pillows.
Those aren't pillows.
Classic every single time.
I think of that line, and then I think of him grabbing the hand towel to wash his face, and then you seeing John Candy's underwear.
My favorite bit in that is when they're done and they're standing up and they're shaking it off. Or all, oh, how about the Bears? Yeah.
I think they're going to go all the way.
Yeah, it's a good time.
Did you notice in the motel bathroom all of the medicines and stuff for gas and bowel movements and everything that were around the sink?
No.
Kind of gave you a hint of what kind of evening he was in for.
No. All I really remember is like all the towels and shit that he just left a mess, and he left his socks in the sink.
Horrible.
And this, that, and the other. So yeah.
And so after all that happens, the graciousness that Neal has, it's the next morning, and they agree that they're going to catch a train, and no, I'll pay for it. He's willing, after all that shit that he gives Del, he's going to pay for his train ticket.
Yeah.
It's like, wow.
Yeah. So they're about to board the train, and Neal got him separate tickets, and Del's kind of taken back by that a little bit, but is what it is. They say their goodbyes, and I thought this was a really good bit where he says, give me your address and I'll send you the money. He goes, no, it was a gift. And Del pushes again, send me your address. And then Steve Martin turns around and goes, Del, it was a gift. I just thought that was kind of very poignant for Steve Martin to do. And, just end on good terms and go on your way. They shared an experience, and Neal's thinking, fuck, finally I'm going to get on a train. I'm going to be home in a couple of hours. All this nightmare is going to be over. And naturally,
the train breaks down.
And I guess you had to see it coming because, I mean, we're not that far into the movie. We're about a half hour or so, right? So we still got a little bit of movie left and they're already on a train. So it breaking down, I felt was pretty funny.
Did you feel like this was almost a movie starring three characters? You had Neal, Del, and the trunk.
No, I didn't pay the trunk any mind.
I felt like that trunk just kept coming up. You know, Steve Martin trips over it. You see it being dragged across the field, the train. That's what kind of gets Neal to go and help him. And, you know, that trunk was everywhere. They're always carrying it. It got thrown off the car in one scene.
Yeah, it didn't dawn on me the significance of the trunk until the end.
That trunk just takes a beating.
Yeah. But, I mean, it has to, right? But yeah, this is the bit where, you know, the train breaks down and Neal sees Del trudging
struggling
across the fucking, and he gives that look like, oh, fuck, should I? God damn it. Okay, I'm going to go do it. And so he goes down there and he helps Del out. And Del's very pleasantly surprised, right? I mean, he wasn't expecting that.
I think for me, this is where you kind of get the impression that, yes, Neal is high strung. Yes, he's got, you know, easily to push over edge, but he does have a heart in that he does care.
I remember thinking during this scene, fuck, they have to walk 1.5 miles? Fuck that shit.
With the chest.
Ugh.
So what'd you think of the bus ride scene where they're singing songs, 3 coins in a fountain?
I thought, okay, so Neal's going to suggest a song, and this ought to be interesting, and right? I mean, on a bus, we're having some fun, and then this song comes up, and only he would think that song was, you know, appropriate for the moment. So, and then God bless Del, right? Jumping in with the Flintstones, making it a pleasant ride. And notice that Del's the only one that cheers. He goes, oh, Neal Page has a song. He starts clapping and the bus is silent. Like, who the fuck is this guy?
Do you know the actress? I believe her name is Jerry Ryan.
Yeah, from Star Trek.
Yeah,
7 of 9.
She was in that scene. She was actually hired as an extra in that scene, but John Hughes kicked her off the set.
Oh, that's too bad.
Because she wouldn't stop laughing at everything that Steve Martin and John Candy said.
Well, if you can't do the job, then you got to go. While you're talking, all I hear in my head is you guys saying her name in the Star Trek show at the same time. That was
7 and 9.
It was the cutest thing I've ever heard.
That is how we are supposed to say the greater good.
The greater good.
Nice. Finally.
I wasn't going to do it,
Yes!
too. I wasn't going to do it.
Oh, you know, the other little thing that I liked about the scene where they are at, is it the bus stop, where we get to watch Del sell the earrings, showing what a stud he is.
Yeah, this is the part where we're
rings.
at. Yeah, so they take the bus to St. Louis and now they're having lunch, and you're absolutely right. He's got his they cut to this montage of him selling the earrings, and yeah, he was a great salesman, very personable. You can see why he, I guess, succeeds as a traveling salesman, but you can see why he's in the profession, right? So yeah, great scene. And then when I was watching this one, I thought that this is where Steve Martin breaks up with John Candy. It was kind of, I don't want to say painful. So they sit down, they have lunch, and Steve Martin says, "Hey, you know what?" He goes, he says, "You're a great salesman."
Doesn't he say something like, "I don't want to hold you back"?
Yeah, he says, "I don't want to hold you back." But he starts off by saying, me and you working together, we really have accomplished nothing. Maybe we should go our separate ways. And poor Del, he gets all hurt, but they part ways. And yeah, at the St. Louis airport, Neal attempts to rent a car, but it is not there when he gets to the lot. So he returns to the terminal where his profanity-filled tirade offends the agent. He attempts to hire a taxi to Chicago, but furiously insults the dispatcher, who punches him. By chance, Del arrives at the same scene in his own rental car and takes the dazed Neal with him. As they drive, they resume arguing, and after nightfall, Del nearly gets them killed by driving in the wrong direction on a freeway. While they compose themselves by the side of the road, Del's carelessly discarded cigarette sets fire to the car's interior. Neal initially gloats, thinking that Del is liable for the damage. until Dell reveals that he found Neal's credit card in his wallet instead of his own, and he used it to rent the car. Okay, so this brings us to probably my favorite scene in the movie.
Where the rental car isn't there?
Oh my God, this whole sequence, all right? He gets on. Have you guys ever rented a car outside of the airport?
Yeah.
So you got to take the shuttle, right? And it feels like it takes you forever.
Yeah.
So Neal is on this shuttle, and they drop him off, and he's walking to get his car, and he gets there, and the car's not fucking there. And he has this meltdown. And now he starts, and then he yells at the bus driver, and the bus driver's gone. And I'm thinking to myself, fuck that. Oh my gosh. Could you imagine?
Well, my first thought is usually those buses come every 15 minutes, so I would have just waited for the next bus.
Oh, I didn't even think about that. You're probably right.
but you know Neal's patience level. He has no patience. He just immediately storms off and walks, a mile back to the airport across the runway?
Yeah, which probably would never happen, but it was funny nonetheless. Mm-hmm. And so he gets to the ticket agent, the secretary from Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
Edie McClurg, she delivers so well.
Yes, so well. And she's bubbly, and she's on the phone, and then obviously Steve Martin is not in the movie.
She ad-libbed that.
Oh, did she really?
Mm-hmm.
That's funny. That's funny. And then he comes up and she says, how may I help you? And he says, you can start by wiping that fucking dumbass smile off your rosy fucking cheeks. Then you can give me a fucking automobile, a fucking Datsun, a fucking Toyota, a fucking Mustang, a fucking Buick, 4 fucking wheels, and a seat. And then there's a pause. I really don't care for the way you're speaking to me. And I really don't care for the way your company left me in the middle of fucking nowhere with fucking keys to a fucking car that isn't fucking there. And I really didn't care to fucking walk down a fucking highway across a fucking runway to get back here for you to smile in my fucking face. I want a fucking car right fucking now. And this is where it just is absolutely brilliant. She says, well, let me see your rental agreement. And he says, I don't have it. And her line in her delivery just makes this whole scene cinematic gold, right? Well, I guess you're fucked.
And didn't you think when he saw that his car wasn't there and the bus drove off and you could see him throwing his rental agreement? It's like, what the hell are you doing?
Yes, 100%. And it comes back and bites him in the ass. And so then he tries to take a fucking cab to Chicago.
This is the whole reason why this movie ended up rated R.
Yeah. How many Fs?
18.
Well,
18 Fs.
There's 18 from him. And isn't it 19 if you count hers? So
oh, yeah. Okay, so 19 fucks overall in that scene. But
that took, 2 minutes?
Yeah, great writing.
Yeah.
Great writing.
You know, watching Steve Martin run at the beginning when he's going for the cab, and he's really pumping his arms up high, and it's a low camera angle shot looking up at him, and he's puffing his cheeks. And then we get the same sort of running again as he's trying to go after the bus, and then he gets his arms up over his head. Just comedic gold, the way he's got his arms up over his head with his briefcase and his overnight bag. I just love the way he runs. His comedic talents are so good in this. And then he gets outside, and oh my gosh, we are back to Dell again.
I know. He gets knocked out by the fucking cab guy.
When he goes to talk to the cab guy, he asked to get punched by that guy.
Oh, absolutely.
What was the joke that he made to him? He basically, if I wanted to see a joke,
I'd follow you into the John. Yeah, that's funny. And then he punches him out, and then almost gets hit by Dell, who is driving a car that
looks
remarkably
familiar.
Looks very much like a version of what family truckster car do we know?
It was for some sort of an outing, an extended outing that a family took together across the country.
They went to Wally World, Dad?
Yeah, that had
Wally World,
Dad. Where they had that fun time with that security officer.
John Candy's car looks very much like the family truckster from Vacation.
Was perfect for
oh, absolutely. So yeah, he offers to drive him, and they get in the car. And
did you have a thought at that point? I kept thinking of how did he pay for it?
No, it didn't even occur to me. Okay. I was just going along for the ride.
But I do love the scene. John Candy pulls up, almost hits Neal. The Then comes out and he stands up for Neal. He yells at the cab guy. And then I love the next interaction where John Candy says, I've never seen anyone picked up by their testicles before.
Yeah. And did you notice Steve Martin's voice?
Yes.
They did some audio to it, like he was on helium. That was pretty good. So they're driving for a little while, and then they switch seats, and Neal's driving, and Dell's futzing with the seat, right? And it's just getting on Neal's nerves, and he's all, you're going to break it. That whole car ride, and then they switch back, and Neal is in the seat, and sure as shit, Dell broke it.
Well, it wasn't broken when I was sitting in it.
I have to get comfortable. Everyone knows I can't relax if I can't get comfortable. And so this brings us to the scene where, Neal falls asleep, which I have huge issue with. But John Candy's mess around is
Delightful.
Yeah, delightful. And it's a great song, very much fits what's going on. And he's trying to take off his jacket because he's too hot. And of course, his arms get hooked. And so great stuff by Candy. Great stuff.
Mm-hmm. Comedic gold. Very, very good.
Okay, so now this leads to my biggest problem of this film. And yes, it took me out of it. And yes, sometimes I can be critical. But how does Steve Martin not wake up?
He's got to be exhausted.
Not that exhausted. And so the another car.
After the big spin and spin out, and they get off the freeway and then back on the wrong way.
Why do they spin out in the first place?
Because John Candy gets stuck, and then I forget what he looks down or something, and they hit an ice patch, and they start spinning.
Both of his arms are stuck, restrained.
That's right.
And he can't steer.
He gets off the freeway, and then he gets right back on.
Right, and he gets right back on, and he's going the wrong way, and then they see another car on the other side of him.
The car parallel.
You're going the wrong way.
You're going to kill somebody.
Yeah, and John Candy, well, how do they know where we're going?
They're drunk. How do they know where we're going?
Yeah, so good. My problem is the two semis. How do you not see it? I get turning and looking at the other cars, but you got 4 headlights from semis coming right at you. And it's not like you don't see them. So how do they miss it?
Because it was written that way.
Son of a bitch.
What about, maybe he didn't see it because he's paying too much attention to that car. What about the 2 fuckers driving the semi-truck? I'm not budging.
Oh, that's a good point, too.
Neither one of them budge?
That is fucking insane. Insane. So.
But it leads to a delightful moment.
Which is?
To see the characters for a split second thinking that they are going to die. And we see both of the skulls with the eyeballs in it, followed by Neal looking over at Dell. And Dell is the devil.
Yes.
That is so good.
It's what I like to call the Pee Wee Herman moment. It's the Large Marge moment.
Sure.
Do you remember that moment in Pee Wee Herman?
Yeah.
Where Large Marge, her face all bulges out. She's the truck driver and turns into this demon-looking thing. Yeah, it's exactly what happens in this.
Yeah.
And John Candy's evil laugh is great.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
That didn't make you laugh at all? You didn't smile. Did you smile when he was the devil?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm not heartless, Professor. I have a sense of humor. I'm not like this one over here on my right.
Well, it's another great example, and I'm going to ignore that, but it's another great example of throughout this movie, we kind of get to see through Neal's eyes and his thought process of, seeing the skeletons of they're scared to death and seeing the devil. You're seeing what Neal is thinking.
Yeah, absolutely. And in the meanwhile, you're traveling between 2 fucking semis. So, that's pretty close to a near-death experience.
When the car screeches between the 2 semis, did you think of Galaxy Quest?
No.
I did. I thought of that scene with him hitting the wall.
Really?
Yeah.
I did not.
Not even close.
And then right afterwards, the chest is catapulted.
Yep.
And then, they pick the stuff up, and they're sitting on the chest, and you hear the whoomp.
Yep.
Did you laugh there?
Of the trunk hitting the ground?
No, the whoomp of the fire of the car.
Yes, absolutely.
My God, yeah. I laughed so hard.
And I love Neal's reaction.
Both of them. Dell turns around and looks, straight face, looks back the other way again. And then Neal turns around and looks, straight face, turns back around again. Now they're both facing the other way, and then they have the realization,
And then they start laughing, right? And Neal is laughing because he's finally, it's happened to you. You get what you get, right? And
You've done it to yourself.
You've done it to yourself. That's exactly right. And then Del drops it on him.
Well, the other thing too, first thing I thought of wasn't his wallet in the glove box?
Oh yeah, for sure. But then he's all, how did you rent the car, Del? And he's like, I traded some shower rings for it. He's like, wait, you can't do that. And then it turns out to be Steve Martin's card. Poor Neal. He just cannot catch a fucking break.
No, he can't.
Yeah. And so miraculously, I don't know how, but I guess I do because that's how it was written. But they drove this burnt up, charred piece of shit to a nearby hotel. With their cards now destroyed in the fire, Neal barters his expensive watch for a motel room, only for himself. Del has nothing of value, so he attempts to sleep in the roofless car. Neal eventually feels sympathy for Del and invites him in from the cold. They share Dale's collection of miniature liquor bottles and laugh about the events of the past 2 days. The pair resume driving to Chicago the next morning, but their badly damaged car is impounded by the police as unroadworthy. Del persuades a trucker to take them into Chicago, riding in a semi's refrigerated trailer.
So this is where another deleted scene happens that would have give the movie a little more context. Did you notice that when they got pulled over and they ended up going to the little jail cell and then got out of the jail cell, Del had a black eye. Did you catch that?
No.
Yeah, he has if you look at it, he has a black eye at that point. Oh. And they never explain how he got the black eye. Well, apparently there's a deleted scene that while they're in jail, they're having a discussion, and Del mentions that he never got the insurance on the car. And Neal punches him in the face. And that's where, if you notice, that's where he got the black eye.
Well, I didn't notice because I didn't even notice the black eye. Professor, did you notice the black eye?
I did not.
Yeah, so
go back and watch it.
Did you notice it the first time you watched it?
Yes.
You're
The first time, no. But
Okay.
but I knew to look forward to going into this version. Okay. What'd you think of the hotel scene where they're finally kind of coming together and they're drinking all the alcohol?
Well, before that, as they're checking in, I kept thinking to myself, Neal better not give in and say, okay, fine, I'll buy you a room. But so he did a really good job. He has to barter his watch, that fancy watch that we noticed in the beginning. And he gets his room. And then I felt so bad for Del.
Well, I kept thinking when Neal got to his room, there's 2 beds. My first instinct, even if you don't like Del, I still would have invited him in.
I don't know at that point. And he needed that time apart from him, obviously. Because, he just fucked him pretty good. How does his credit card get in his wallet?
I do like that when they're bartering and Neal barters with a fancy watch, and was it like $15 or something like that? And then Del comes up, well, I got a Casio. My favorite part about that whole scene is a hotel room was $42.
Those are the good old days.
Spend much time in motels there, Professor?
Uh-uh.
So, yeah, they are getting hammered, and it's a real moment for the both of them. And
they're finally starting to come together.
Yeah. It was at the diner, I think, where Del says, well, I don't know, I haven't been home in years, right? Mm-hmm. Don't they say something else? Oh, no, this is where Steve Martin is saying, you may be quirky and you may be, a shit, but
you have a woman who loves you.
Right. Mm-hmm. And so that's got to be worth something.
And did you see the expression on John Candy's face?
Yeah. And that's where I was kind of like thinking, oh, I wonder.
I think that the drunk gives both of them permission to forgive each other for all that they have gone through, despite their best intentions and best efforts, and having things go so horribly bad that it's okay to put all of that aside and say that I think you're an okay person.
Yeah.
Well, one thing I love about this scene is that both of them have no money. They've already bartered away their things. And they're taking everything out of the honor bars. They pretty much drank everything and ate everything out of there. And then what did they do in the morning?
Oh, they backed the car up.
They back the car into the room and destroy the room.
They destroyed
So
the
they
room.
really screwed over that hotel.
That was
that motel
awful.
owner.
And then we had mentioned that they leave the hotel and then they get pulled over and the
Who pulls them over?
trooper,
What? And who is the trooper?
state trooper.
No, he's
Who's the actor? It's another one of our cameos.
Fuck, I have no idea.
He's Lenny and Squiggy, Laverne and Shirley.
Oh, is it Michael McKean?
Michael McKean.
Get the fuck out!
Spinal
I
Tap.
did not notice that.
Really?
Yeah, I did not see it.
Come on.
Okay, I didn't see it.
You always catch these things.
Which, okay, to my defense, guys, I
Were you
watched
on
it
your
a
phone?
week and a half
No.
ago.
You were on your phone.
No.
weren't you?
No, I watched it a week ago, fucker. So yeah, Michael McKean. That's crazy.
Yeah. And I loved how they kind of give the speech, the whole thing of, it doesn't look like much. We couldn't see the speedometer, but, the radio works and all that stuff. And
Yeah. Well, first of all, that car should have never been running, but, we went with it.
yeah.
But John Candy delivers that line really well.
Oh, he delivers all his lines well. So it's just more John Candy being John Candy. So that was good. That was good. They go to jail, they get out, and then John Candy or Dell arranges them to get a ride into Chicago, or found them a ride. And, but
in the back of the truck.
they have to be, they had to sit in the back of the trailer, in a refrigerated trailer. And I remember thinking, watching Steve Martin's expression as he's shivering and holding, I'm thinking, God, how long do they have to stay back there? And John Candy, Dell says, just think, in less than 3 hours we'll be in Chicago. 3 hours in a ride like that. Fuck that noise. At the Chicago L station, Neal sincerely thanks Dell for getting him home, and they part ways with affection. As Neal rides a commuter train to his neighborhood, he thinks about the trip, recalling some of Dell's odd comments and silences during the journey. And it occurs to him that Dell hasn't actually been trying to get himself home. He returns to the station where he finds Dell still sitting. Dell explains that he doesn't have a home and that the beloved wife he'd talked about had died 8 years earlier. Neal brings Dell home with him for Thanksgiving dinner, introducing his family to his dear friend. Roll credits.
This is another scene that really shows, I think, again, the brilliance of John Hughes type writing, where it shows the thought process of Neal. Is Neal sitting on that train, which I thought was interesting the way they filmed it. Did you hear the way that they filmed that scene, Professor?
I read about it. And yeah, it really works.
Basically, they had Steve Martin sitting on the train, and he was thinking about lines he was about to do and about a scene he was about to do, and they just filmed him. So all those facial expressions are just him thinking about it. He didn't know he was being filmed at the time. But the idea of he starts thinking about his family, and then he starts thinking about, his wife kind of in a romantic way of can't wait to get home to his wife. And then that takes his mind to the point of him in bed with Dell, with the whole pillow situation, and then starts thinking about some of the things that Dell said. It was kind of that transition that they did that, your actual thought process would go through of getting from point A to point B. And that's how he gets to the point of, oh my God, he doesn't have a family.
Yeah.
And I thought that was a great way, instead of just doing all these quick flashbacks or, just show that John Hughes put the thought in of how would his thought process actually work.
Yeah. How did he get back to Dell so fast? That seems like a really short turnaround. He was on a train track going home. Those things don't just stop and turn around, right? So that's where my mind went to. But yeah, I think when he said, I haven't been home in years, I think that's where it clicked for me that she might be dead. And then when they reveal it here that she is dead, there is that really tender moment where Neal finally gets it, right? And I think my top 5 scenes, this one where they're walking, carrying the trunk
down the middle of the street.
It's really touching. And then I realized what the trunk was. It's his house. It's everything he owns. He doesn't have a home, right? That's why this trunk was so important. And so, yeah, great stuff.
Well, the thing that really clicked with me and what kind of moved me in this is, you're right, he does take the train back, and that must have taken a while. But then the thought was, Dale's probably been sitting there for a couple hours trying to figure out what his next move was. And then that led me to think, if he has no home or has no place to go to, this whole time, He's been just trying to get Neal home. He had no other purpose. He wasn't trying to get anywhere. The only thing he was ever doing was helping Neal get home.
Yeah,
and that just kind of shows who Del is.
Well, yeah, fair, but they kind of beat us over the head with that in the final 15 minutes. Thanks for getting me home. Oh, you bet. No, really, I appreciate you getting me home. You know, they kept telling us that, but I get it being his purpose was to get Neal home.
Yeah, because where was Del ever trying to get to?
They never tell us.
Yeah, so I don't think he was trying to get anywhere.
Well, he wasn't because they didn't tell us.
This movie had a post-credit scene. What was that post-credit scene?
Oh my God, I was laughing so hard. So it ends, the movie ends, the credits roll. And did you guys notice that song? The one where that uses the Steve Martin bits? Nobody treats me like this. Or you won't get away with it.
Yeah.
The soundtrack, it was so 80s. It was pretty funny. But after it was all over, I just left it running. I didn't mean to watch all of it.
You didn't know it was there?
I had no clue it was there. So I'm writing my notes in my little notebook, and the credits go by and it stops, and then the screen pops back on, and I went, what the fuck is this? And it's the ad guy still looking, trying to make a decision. You notice he has a turkey and all this. And so, Marvel can thank John Hughes. Post credits.
Now, you brought up a great point about the soundtrack. There was a great soundtrack in this. Do you know that there was almost an Elton John song?
No, I did not.
He was paid to write a song and had a song ready for this movie. Did you hear what happened with it, Professor?
I heard at the time, but I don't remember.
Basically, John Hughes and the production company and everything wanted 100% rights to the Elton John song. Right. And Elton John refused. When he writes a song for a movie, he wants to keep some rights to the song. They couldn't get, to an agreement, so Elton John pulled the song. So there's an Elton John song out there specifically for this movie.
Interesting.
I think that the song that sticks with me the most is that last song at the end when they're walking up the street, Every Time You Go Away. Right?
Oh, I fucking hate that song.
But does it work for the scene?
No, because I hate the song.
But it's a song that makes you think 80s.
No, well, yes, it does, and it was a bad 80s song, which makes it a bad 2022
But it's also it's a style of John Hughes. That's the kind of song John Hughes picks.
Doesn't make it a better song, bud.
Okay.
Well, I was going to elaborate a little bit more that the way that the movie ends with that song and the reserved nature of Neal and Del and his wife. I'd like you to meet my friend Del.
Yeah.
And then so you're Mr. What Del
Griffith.
Yeah, so you're Mr. Griffith. And no, maybe she just says Mr. Griffith, and then he says Mrs. Page.
Yeah.
And then it freezes right after it shows the wringing of his hands with the gloves and then his smile. And I teared up.
Yeah, I'm not going to lie. I felt a little emotion there. It was a nice moment.
So, John, did you tear up at the end?
I think I might have had something in my eye around the train station.
Oh.
When he came in and saw him just sitting there. That's when I kind of had to wipe, a little something out of my eye.
We won't tell you folks what it was he was wiping out of his eye.
I would ask Don, if he got teared up, but Don doesn't have any emotions or feelings, so he doesn't care.
See, he doesn't listen. We just talked about that. I just said I did. Asshole.
Well, I'm just calling you a liar is all.
Oh, is that what it is?
Yeah.
All right, so what do you guys think? Should we rate this bitch?
Let's rate this bitch.
Hey, Professor, how do we rate our movies?
Well, I'll tell you how we rate our fucking movies. We rate our movies by fucks because we are deciding that we want to go in a fucking different fucking direction. So we have decided that we are going to rate them on fucks. 5 fucks is cinematic gold. 1 fuck, that is a movie that you don't give a fuck about, or you just barely give a fuck about, and you never want to see it again pretty much because you've seen it and you're done with it. Fuck that.
And a 0?
Oh, fuck. Somebody owes me 2 hours of my life back. That's what that is.
No, there you go. There you go. Out of curiosity, who put John Hughes in the helmet?
I did.
Yeah, you are fucking fired.
Yeah. Now, once we picked John Hughes, who put in Planes, Trains, and Automobiles?
$6. Am I right, nut? says it's got to be me based on your silence, gentlemen.
Yep,
Yeah.
you got it right. So Professor went 2 for 2 on that one. So yeah, why don't you go ahead and kick us off there, Mr. Professor?
Okay, so Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. This movie originally got an itch in my head back when we were doing genre movies, because one of the genre choices that we had was road movies. And I was very torn as to which road movie to put in, because this was going to be my other choice to do. And in the end, I did not pick this as my road movie. When we were reviewing John's road movie, I referenced this movie a couple of times, and I thought that it is a similar story arc what the cars go through in Tommy Boy and in Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. And so I had an itching to talk about this movie. And so when this came up this time around with, well, let's put in a director, this had to go in for me. And so I was looking forward to watching this movie again, because I was curious and somewhat eager to explore and talk about it and find out what you guys thought of it as well. So I think that John Candy and Steve Martin are beautifully cast together, and they play their characters very well. I appreciated the directing that John Hughes gave us, and the touching moments of the movie work very well for me. I also really enjoyed the music throughout. There's one little piece of music when the car is on the road and there's no lyrics. It's do, 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 do. I don't know what that piece is called, but I've heard it in probably one of his other John Hughes movies, and I don't know what it is, but it's just like, it's a fun, boppy little tune. And I really have a strong association with the end of the movie, with Every Time You Go Away. As much as you hate it, it still tugs at my heartstrings. And I remembered thinking, this is a really sappy moment that I am just falling for. I can't believe it. And part of it is because of that ending song and that ending scene with the two of them walking up the street. There's no cars on the street, and it just plays out so nicely the way that the movie ends. I found that, this is really John Candy showing great acting chops in this movie. He is so tender in some of his scenes, and I appreciate his delivery of Dell. He gets him. He delivered him very, very well. And Steve Martin, what an anal retentive, uptight prick. He did that so nicely. And these two characters being stuck together, I've really, really enjoyed the movie. This movie is a solid 4.
4 fucks from the Professor.
Fuck yeah.
I don't know why you write it down. You never take those papers with you.
In case we want to recap later.
All right. Well, speaking of recapping, you're up.
I'm up. John Hughes movies are always about the journey. It's always about, your characters start here, they have some growth, and they end up better in the end. You can see that in either all the movies he's directed. You can see that in the movies that he's written or produced. They always have this journey. And, when you think about it back then, putting Steve Martin with John Candy, you'd wonder how that would even work. And I think it was comedy gold in this movie, in that they worked so well together. They both worked well off of each other. You believed both of their characters. You believed, like you said, Professor, that Steve Martin's character, Neal, was a prick, and that John Candy's character was kind of an inconsiderate oaf, but with a lovable heart, who really cared. And especially when you find out in the end that he did all that really trying to help Neal along and not really trying to get anything out of it for himself. But ended up getting a friend, and that's something, somebody in his life, almost like getting a new family in the end. That's what you're hoping that this led to, is maybe, Dell found a new family, found a new home that he could go to and could visit. So just the warm feels that movie gives you was one reason I love this movie. Another reason is what I mentioned earlier, and I've said this before, I like originality in movies, and I felt like what I was saying earlier about, instead of dragging out the whole movie to, there's a big blow up coming and that, Neal's going to lose his cool at some point, instead of just waiting for that at the end, you get that throughout the movie. You get all these big blow ups, then a little bit of downtime, then another big blow up, then a little downtime, then another big blow up. And so you really didn't know what to expect with this movie the first time you see it. when you see it again, you're waiting, you're eager for these blow-ups, you're eager to see them again, especially the F-bomb scene, at the airport. When you think, I mentioned earlier, I've had situations like that where I lost my cool and I ended up paying for it. So you think back to it and it rings true and it's hilarious. For me, a lot of people have classified this movie as a Thanksgiving movie. And I thought it's interesting that, we just did our Christmas pick, which was Die Hard. And a lot of people said, well, there wasn't a lot of Christmas in the movie. Well, this is even Julie said this is a Thanksgiving Day movie. She likes to watch it on Thanksgiving, except there really isn't a lot of Thanksgiving in it until the very end when they get home to the Thanksgiving meal. So same idea, but still it's one of those movies that you could pull out every holiday and just kind of have that same feels, that same family feeling of, what the whole point of Thanksgiving is, getting family together and enjoying the people that you're with. So yeah, it's a movie I could watch every year. Doesn't even have to be Thanksgiving. If it comes on TV, I may watch it. If there's nothing better on, nothing else that's going to draw me in, this is a movie I could watch start to finish. And so for that reason, I'm going to give it a 4.0.
It's funny that we changed this rating system to fucks, and we'll say fuck, fuckity, fuck. But both of you, I'm going to give it a 4. I'm going to give it a 4.0.
I give it 4 fucks? Is that what you want me to say?
That's what I'm talking about.
Well, fuck you.
You too. You both drive me up the fucking wall right fucking now.
How many times did I say fuck right before my rating? 27?
Yeah, but that's not the point.
42?
Not the point.
Not the point.
It's not the point.
Fuck that guy.
All right. Speaking of fuck that guy, I guess I'll go. I'll go ahead and count this as my first time ever seeing this film. I can admit it. And for what it was, I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed the fact that it was an hour and a half. It was paced very well. I grew up on John Hughes movies, and I really like John Hughes as a director. Is he my favorite director coming out of the 80s? No, but he's got some really powerful stuff. And I'm happy to now include this one into that, and definitely a Thanksgiving film. There was a lot of great scenes in this, and Steve Martin and John Candy are a delight, and they work very well together on screen. Neal starts off as this insufferable prick, and then at the end, he has a heart. Dell starts off as this talkative, overbearing, nut job. And, at the end kind of comes to the realization that he is on his own and he does have nobody, but now he has this friend and maybe this is a new chapter in his life. It was very well told and it was a wonderful story. Did it have its problems? Sure, but what movie doesn't? Is this a rewatchable for me? Well, yeah, I could probably watch it. So for that, I'm going to give Planes, Trains, and Automobiles a 3.5 fuck.
Okay. Thanks for including the fuck.
Well, that's how we're doing our ratings. I guess if I'm the only one that respects
I'm giving
protocol,
my movie 4 fucks.
You had your chance. Would you like to chime in too, fuckface?
Fuck no.
Okay, well, there you go. Now comes the time in our podcast where we are going to select our next film, or I should say our next director. And since Jill chose John Hughes, and Jill was John's friend.
Can I just point out that I think we are choosing a new director, not because, Don wants to space it out, just because he doesn't want to do another John Hughes movie so quick. So I think he's making us pick again.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
Do either of you have a quarrel with that?
No.
I don't give a fuck if you do.
Well, it is your basement.
That's right, motherfucker. I was going to let you pick, Dick, but now I'm not going to let you pick. Professor, would you like to pick a director?
I pulled John Hughes, Planes, Trains.
You pulled the movie.
Yeah.
Okay, well,
Right,
Jill pulled the director. I don't know why it has to be this hard. The next director we are going to talk about is...
Holy shit. Steven Spielberg.
Fuck off. Is it really?
Steven Spielberg?
Okay, now that we have picked Sir Steven Spielberg out of the hat, we each put in a film by Steven Spielberg, and now we are going to pick one. And since you picked Steven and you were on my shit list, I will pick...
Dr. Jones, you're a man of many talents. is something that man was not meant to disturb.
An army which carries the Ark before it is invincible.
Indiana
Jones!
Let her go.
Snakes. Why did it have to be snakes? I'm going after that truck. Oh, I don't know. I'm making this up as I go. Trust me.
All right, so that is going to wrap it up for this episode of Three Guys in a Flick. We want to thank everybody who listens to us, who downloads our podcast. We want to say a special thank you to Zach, Ronnie, and Jill. And hey, John, where can they find us?
Well, apparently I screwed up a couple weeks ago when we did Galaxy Quest and said TikTok twice. So my wife wrote me down a list. They can find us on Instagram, Facebook, iTunes, Podbean, and TikTok. Now, if you listen to us on any of the podcasting hosting sites, especially Podbean, please go ahead and hit that subscribe button. I would love to build up our subscriber numbers. We get a lot of downloads, a lot of people listen to our shows, but not a lot of subscribers. So if you want to be alerted when we post a new podcast or we post some new information or fun clips, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. You can also find us at our website, threeguysinaflick.com. You can find us on Facebook and Twitter. You can find us on almost every social media platform.
All right, so there you go. Thanks again to everyone who listens. Be sure to share us with a friend or even someone you don't like. Force them to listen to us. There's no greater payback than that. For Three Guys in a Flick, I'm Don.
I'm John.
And I'm Ken. Thanks for listening. Okay, it's after Thanksgiving. How do you get Dell out of the house?
I don't think they have to. I think at this point, Dell's burned the house down.
Oh, no. Well, possibly, but I'm thinking, but Dell's not going anywhere. He is downstairs on the couch in his underwear, corrupting your kids, watching The Price is Right.
With shoes off.
With his shoes and socks.
Shoes and
socks.
Do you feel rushed?
No, this is fine. If it doesn't sound good, then we can do the other one.
Want to record it?
I always have to come downstairs at some point and record fucking something by myself.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Donnie time.
Yeah, that's what that is. The following day, with air travel still prohibitively delayed. Did I say that right?
Prohibitively?
Yeah.
You can just take out the word and say.
Yeah, what the fuck? I thought you edited this shit.
No,
you read this, motherfucker. Where Dale raises cast.
Dell.
Fuck off.
Fuck yeah.
I do want to revisit. I just thought of something. I want to revisit the part about.
Nope, we're going too long.
What gave you. You can cut this out or you can remove it. But what kind of gave you the teary eyed, the choked up feeling? And I want to change what I said. I think I want to go back to the point where Dell is sitting in the car, the burnt out car, and it starts snowing and everything, or it is snowing, and he's freezing. And he starts talking to himself and talking about his wife. And, she used to say, you always...
He's not talking to himself. He's talking to his wife.
Well, yeah, but nobody's there. He's just speaking out.
He's talking to his wife.
Okay, well, you're ruining it now. Thanks for killing the moment. But anyway...
The fact that he's talking to his wife should make it even more of a moment.
Yeah. But anyway, when he's saying that she's right about how he acts and how he's overbearing and all that, I think that is the scene that really kind of gets me a little choked up.
Sure. And it's a great scene. And I think that's where I figured out that she was dead.
Yeah. And when it clicks and when you figure out that she is dead and then he's talking to her spirit, not talking to himself, because apparently fuck that, but he's talking to her spirit, that kind of is even more moving.
Yeah. Well, there you go. There you go. Thanks for bringing that up after we did ratings.
Well, I do that every show. So
yeah. So the next time I say, hey, is there anything else you guys want to talk about? Keep saying no.
Well, feel free to cut all that.
Bold choice, boys. Bold choice. We have now each put a film of Steven Spielberg's into the hat
Like
again.
3 hours later.
Why would you do that? Now I just have to cut that out.
Killing the magic.
You are fucking killing the magic and the fucking flow. You always kill my fucking flow, you motherfucker.
That is why I was put on this planet.
To kill my flow?
Yes.
Well, fuck you and...
Job successfully done?
Well, yeah, I suppose so. All right, fuck off. Good night.